His new book, Hardcourt Confidential, is out. It is tennis great Patrick McEnroe. What's up, Patrick? How you doing, man?
Hey, Tony and Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Great to hear about that on the local level that tennis is that people are playing, because that's what it's all about. You know, we always like to say tennis is a sport for a lifetime,
right?
And nobody knows that more than me.
Yeah, you know what? Why? You know, what do you think it is? What do you think it is about this kind of renaissance that we're seeing on a local level? Because on the major level, folks have been following the stars for years, but now people are getting out there and doing it. Why do you think that is all of a sudden?
Well, number one, it's just a great game to play. I mean, it's healthy, it's physical, it's social.
Yep.
And it's a heck of a lot more fun than going for a run or getting on a bike or something like that. Because tennis is the kind of game that teaches you so much. And obviously, I grew up from 3 years old playing tennis, and I think I learned a few lessons, which is that nobody's perfect,
right?
And that you're always going to make mistakes, but it's kind of how you learn from your mistakes. And I have people coming up to me all the time that are hackers or that are really high level players and saying, "Oh, what can I do to fix this part of my game?" And I said, you know what, you keep working, you try to get better, you try to improve, and I think that's what keeps people coming back. I mean, that as a pro, when you're playing at the pro level,
right,
just to maintain your ranking, you need to get better over the years, and that's why I have a huge amount of respect for the great players that have longevity, and I talk about quite a few of them in the book, like an Andre Agassi, like Pete Sampras, obviously like my brother John,
right?
Players that have been able to do that and adapt and adjust. But tennis has got a great buzz back, and nobody's happier than me when I hear that there's people out there playing for fun, because that's what it's all about.
Well, of course, in the world of tennis, there seems to be these great rivalries. We recently have seen another great rivalry pop up, with Federer and Nadal. What do you consider some of the best, I guess, head-to-head matchups on both sides, the men's and women's sides, that you can remember in your tennis lifetime?
Yeah, I talk about my sort of 20, 25 years in the pro game, and I even go back, and obviously when I was a kid growing up, talk about some of the great Australian players like Laver and Rosewall, and
right,
obviously as a brother of John, his great matches with Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors, and I tell some tales about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff there, and obviously more recently, Federer and Nadal has been an unbelievable rivalry. Then you also had Chrissy and Martina, which was two contrasting styles. See, that's the thing about tennis that I love, okay?
Right.
You get the totally different styles of player, but you also get really their totally different upbringings and personalities.
Right.
Here's Chris Evert, the all-American girl from Florida, with the blonde hair. And then you get Martina Navratilova, from Czechoslovakia, coming out of the Iron Curtain, playing serve and volley tennis. Coming out years later, that she's a lesbian, and then coming out that she wants to play for the USA. And so it's just amazing. Even Federer and Nadal, yes, they're both European, but two from two totally different countries, Switzerland, Spain, completely different styles of play, etc. And when you get that match, that Wimbledon final from 2 years ago, which I was lucky enough to call for ESPN, the Federer and Nadal Classic,
right,
it's just special. It's just a moment that's really sort of transcends tennis and sports. It's just two players at their absolute best, totally different backgrounds, out there on this 78-foot rectangle, trying to find a way to beat the other player in this sort of, non-aggressive manner, unlike a boxing match, for example. But at its heart, tennis is really sort of one-on-one combat.
Now, when you switch over to the broadcast booth there, on the ESPN side, calling matches like this, do you find it hard to be a broadcaster, or do you kind of find yourself kind of going into like a coach mode or a fan mode when you get hung up in some of these great matches?
That's a great point, Tony. You know what? I hope I do a little bit of all of that,
right?
Because the two things I tell myself when I'm up there, whether it's a great match or a boring match, is try to educate and try to entertain people. And obviously my background as a player and as a Davis Cup captain, where I've done some coaching, that part comes into it. But you know what? It's like you started off this conversation. Tennis is a great game. People love to play it. It's fun.
Right.
So you try to bring that entertainment side to it so that the average person at home they maybe can't relate to the way Roger Federer moves on a tennis court and hits that forehand on the run,
Right.
but they can probably relate to the way he's thinking at 4-all, 30-all in the final set, and kind of what's going through his mind and what makes him tick. And so you try to bring a little bit of all of that to the broadcast booth, and obviously your own experiences. But I always try to get into the mind of the players that are out there, because I think that's really one of the most fascinating aspects of the sport.
Talking to Patrick McEnroe. His new book, Hardcourt Confidential, is out. You can grab a copy of it. It is great. It tells stories and tales from 20 years of pro tennis and all throughout the ranks. Talk about the Grand Slams real quick before I let you get out of here. If you had to pick one, and only one, to see one last of the big four there, which one would it be?
Well, don't tell my other employers at the USTA that runs the U.S. Open, but it'd be hard. I'd be hard pressed not to pick Wimbledon. I mean,
Right.
There's nothing like center court at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
I tell the story when you first walk on the ground, even the first day that play starts, and the grass is absolutely pristine. And
Right.
I'm lucky enough to get there, say, a couple of hours before the gates officially open.
Right.
And you just walk around the ground and you see these perfect courts with the paste, the titanium paste that they put in the line.
Right.
And you walk on that center court in that cathedral, and it's absolutely quiet. There's something about the ball hitting the grass court which doesn't make any sound.
Yeah.
And it's just so intimate in there, and that really is sort of the temple of tennis in a lot of ways. I mean, the other majors are amazing. I'm a New Yorker, so I love how big and loud and brash the U.S. Open is. But
Right.
if you're asking me for that one match, that one great setting, it's got to be center court at Wimbledon.
I guess the same way folks around here are with Churchill Downs, in the Kentucky Derby here in Kentucky.
That's exactly
It's just
right.
yeah.
I mean, there's that tradition and there's that respect and sort of integrity for the game. And Wimbledon is really modernized, and they've got now a retractable roof, which is awesome. So,
Yeah.
And their facilities are phenomenal. So people have this idea that they're kind of haven't gotten with the modern world, and that's actually very far from the truth. They're actually very modernized in everything they do.
Right.
But they've managed to do that and keep that beauty and tradition and feel of what it is to play at that event, and what it is to participate in it, to be there as a fan, and that experience is really unbelievable.
Patrick McEnroe, the book is Hardcourt Confidential. Before we let you get out of here, Patrick, give the folks out there maybe picking up tennis just a real quick 30-second Patrick McEnroe tip to improve their game.
Well, you know what? The best thing to do when you're picking up tennis, to be honest, is to hit against the wall. I've got to tell you, I grew up playing against the wall when I was very young, and you can work on your strokes, you can work on your timing. You don't have someone on the other side, hitting the ball who knows where.
Right.
And you can really work on you need control. You need to have control, and you need to kind of repeat a similar swing time and time again. And I think hitting against the wall, against a garage door, you go to a public park and hit against the wall. I still do that in New York City, where I live all the time. Go out and hit against the wall for 30 minutes. It's a great workout. It's a great way to sort of clear your mind and sort of focus on what you're doing. And I think that's I think the best advice I could give for someone that's just starting. And then obviously the social aspect of tennis when you start playing with other people is great. But that sort of solo one-on-one time with yourself, I think, would be very helpful to people.
Hardcourt Confidential is the book. Patrick McEnroe with us. We appreciate you taking some time out, Patrick. Continued best of luck. They can get the book all major book outlets, retail places, you name it, right?
You got it. All over the web, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc., all your bookstores. So I appreciate you all having me on.